In this next version of Widow Wisdom and Wealth, you're going to be meeting one of my favorite people on this earth, my husband, Jim. Jim and I were married in 2022. And during that time period, we had found out that his ex-wife was very ill, and she ultimately passed away a little over a year ago. And Jim has graced us with being very genuine in this next podcast about the strange role he had as an ex-husband who had also lost his ex-wife but was married again, and how it was a little bit of a journey for him to negotiate this. I don't know if you would even call it widowhood. Um, the emotions, the next steps, the best interest for his kids. So it's a joy to be able to share a little bit of my Jim with you, a little bit of our full story, so you understand the importance of really truly being aware of those who might be in widowhood or a weird version of it, kind of being stoic out there and loving up on them a bit. So give it a listen, and I'm really excited to bring this version to you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Widow Wisdom and Wealth. We have one of my favorite guests so far on, my husband, Jim. So as many of you know, I lost my first husband, Greg, about 11, 12 years ago, and Jim and I married about 2 years ago. But Jim has learned a lot about me over the years. He was very much my friend first. If any of you have watched a previous episode, you heard a little bit of the story of Jim witnessing me in the early years of widowhood as my friend. But we have evolved and now we are married. But he has a very interesting story. Jim's first wife has passed away, and now he is in full custody of his kids. And I think the journey and how being a divorced parent while also being a widower in a very strange sense, really has a different take on it. And I wanted the listeners to really hear this part of the story to kind of open the expansion of mind as to you don't always know what's going on behind the scenes, and how we can support other people when we have the loss of a parent or an ex-spouse or spouse. So let's all take some time to welcome Jim as he shares his story with us. Hey, Jimbo, how are you?
Doing good.
So you are my favorite guest. I hope you know that. I love you very much. And I really appreciate you sharing this story. So let's kind of start. I'm going to like blend three questions into one because I'm going to act as if I don't know the story. You're sharing it with our listeners here. So tell a little bit about the backstory, maybe some of the early years of your marriage, the time of divorce, and then where we are right now. So you take the floor for a little bit. Tell us all that you like to share.
Okay. We were married, my first wife. We were married in 2004. Um, Both of us just starting our careers, what ended up being our careers. She worked for the government. She was a federal agent. I was a carpenter. Wanted to have kids right away. We had three kids right away. Two of them Irish twins, 12 months apart. And then our son 2 years after that. Um, Yeah, we were just going about it. My wife had to travel a little bit for work. She didn't travel a lot, but there was some travel. So we had to share responsibilities with the kids. And it was working well. We decided to move to a different school district for the kids. And with that, we decided that I would stay home until all three were in full-time school. Save money on that. And that's what we did. Everything was going great. Fast forward, just like a lot of people, marriage just wasn't working. It happens. So we were divorced in 2018. Um, I had gotten an apartment in town just so the kids, again, we'd be back and forth. When everything seemed to be working, it worked well. It wasn't too much. But I guess, what was it, 2021 when she got sick?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We were all still on lockdown from COVID, so early 2021.
Yeah.
It was the end of one of those holidays, wasn't it? It was either Labor Day or Memorial
It
Day.
was it was the spring.
Okay.
It was the spring. Yeah, she had found out she had cancer. And Donna and I were together at this point. So we already had a kind of a blended family, but we weren't, I didn't have full custody of the kids. But after she got sick, we took more of a role with the kids. Just well, it was kind of back and forth. At one point, we took more of a role because she had to have treatments, she had this. But on the other side of it, we didn't take them as much because we wanted them to spend as much time with their mother. So
Especially
we
as
kind of,
that progressed. Yeah, I
well,
remember.
yeah, we did away with that structured which day is which. I didn't want her to, if she was feeling well, I didn't want it to be like, well, it's my weekend.
Yeah, it was very fluid.
Yeah, so if you're not feeling well, bring them here. If you're feeling well, I'd rather have their time with it. But yeah, and then she passed August of 2023. Um, again, just like anyone that loses, you just never saw that coming. I mean, you would have never wrote that down as the story. But
Just for listeners, how old was she at the time of passing?
47.
Go ahead.
She was 47. Worked till the very end.
She did.
But she did great with the kids, prepared them for it. I've always said it kind of changed the way I'm going to do it when it's my time, if I know about it. I thought she handled it great. The kids surprisingly well, but I think they were lucky because you were in their life and your kids, right? So it was that made that easier. I don't know how it would have been if I didn't have you and the kids. I don't know how it might have been. I mean, how hard might that have been?
For
It's
the
a totally
listeners,
different.
I think I'm going to interject my role there, is I think one of the best parts was the fact that like the three older kids had already lost a parent, right?
Mhm.
And so they knew what it felt like. They knew that
Yes.
void. And so they did a really good job, I gotta say,
Yeah.
of stepping in and saying like, okay, kids, we've got you. Like we know this.
Mhm.
And I think they paired up very nicely. I think they found a friendship in
Mhm.
that they might not have found if we were just a regular blended
Oh,
family.
agreed. Plus, they also lost. Your kids lost their father around the same ages that my kids lost their mother. So they even know what that was like. And in fact, we had uh, I had moved out of town to live with Donna when we were together. And we just refinished the house and everything. We weren't planning on moving. And when she got sick, my ex-wife got sick. We actually ran and bought a house in our town so the kids didn't have to change school districts. And a lot of that was a push from the kids, your kids.
It's true. I remember the kids being like, "Oh, we can't do that because
Mhm.
James, my
Yes.
born youngest,
Yeah.
what was it? It was like January, right? It was
Yes.
January, and he was
His senior year.
in high
Yeah.
school, and we called the school, and they said as long as he's here past January, he can graduate from his school, and that's when you and I hit the go button. And
Yeah.
all right, we got to get as soon as we can into the town where your kids lived to make sure they could stay in school district after their mom passed. And I remember James and all of the kids being like, "That's you have to."
Yeah.
And I think too because our kids, my natural born kids, they moved almost every 2 years when we lived abroad with their dad, as they knew what they missed of having roots and having support.
Sure.
So they were thrilled that your kids could keep that. So
Yeah. I
awesome.
mean, you figure that was, January when we found out James could stay in the school, and we bought the house in February and moved in April. And my ex-wife passed in August, 2 weeks before school started for the kids. So it really time-wise, it couldn't have been better
Yeah.
the way everything worked out. It definitely was a smooth transition. That would have been tough if the kids if that happened and we were still in another town and with schools and we were trying to think of different ways to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
But
because
we could.
otherwise, like truly, their mom would have passed in August. They would have
Mhm,
had to lost their mom and 2 weeks later started a brand new school district,
mhm,
moved away from their friends. Yeah, just so blessed and lucky we
mhm.
found that house.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's great.
on a lighter note, the house we had needed a little bit of love, a little bit of tenderness. So I'm very happy you're such a skilled carpenter. Well done. Thank you. I like plumbing and I like flushing toilets. So thank you very much.
Mhm.
All right, so let's kind of move from the point of really finding out that your ex-wife was sick, and how was that going to impact things for you financially, for you with employment, and for you being able to be available for the kids for parenting, because I will admit to everyone I run an average of 12-hour days. So I, for my mom role, wasn't going to be really as hands-on as I was able to be with my own children after they lost their dad. I had working part-time and had about 2 years of time to run. So how did that feel for you? What was the decision process? Knowing that you're gonna have to navigate that. I know moving to their hometown was a big part of that.
Well, I guess going back to what I originally said about me staying home with the kids when we first moved to that town with my first wife, I was home for 4 years, and then I went back to work once the kids were there. So I was used to that role of taking care of them, as much, and it was really helpful for my ex-wife with her career, because I was in the carpenters union. At the time, it's a lot easier for me to step back, jump back in. I can, it's not like anyone else quitting their career. You can't just jump back in a day's notice. I could. So fast forward, I went back to work. I was actually in an office capacity at the same company, still doing carpentry, but I was in the office. Um, but luckily, I had a great employer. Um, the owner of my company is just a phenomenal guy, and everyone that works there is great. So when my ex-wife got real sick, I was working crazy hours too.
Just during COVID.
Yeah, yeah. Well, COVID didn't exist in my world. It was just crazy hours, and I wasn't around. Once we realized she was really sick and it wasn't really going to get better, um, luckily, Donna actually, you had me said I could step back and be home for the kids because we didn't know what days we were going to have them. We didn't know when she was in the hospital. We didn't know when she was having treatments. So yeah, like I said, my boss was excellent. He knew it was tough, trying to couldn't handle everything. So I actually left the workforce again,
Yeah.
and it was to concentrate on first of all redoing our house, the one we left, and
Yes.
then being there for the kids. So and then when we bought the new house, so the kids could stay in district, it needed to totally be redone, and still currently working on it.
Doing a
Gonna
great job, Bubby. I
be
love
two
it.
years.
Beautiful.
I mean, every ounce of that house had to be worked on. So I'm getting there. It's almost done, but being the freedom of being able to be there for the kids and even for the older kids, for your kid, driving them back to college, it frees you up for carrying the load of doing everything and no guilt. Someone's there to help and do all that. But
And I'll share with the listeners, Jim does work for my financial planning firm company, and he is like the person that I'm like, oh Jim, I need this. Oh Jim, I need that. Like you are really the oh Jim person, right? Whether it's like, the bottles for the water cooler or our annual birthdays or like our older client, little Miss Katie, needs a copy of her documents delivered to her house. And I love the fact that you have such kindness to sit with them for an hour or two on their front step and listen. Sometimes you're invited in for tea or to check their ceiling fan because they know you're a carpenter. You have the patience of a saint. And so I appreciate you so much being part of our practice. And I know that was a real big key player or key decision to step away from your career a second time when you were actually on that upward momentum. And it really does show your dedication to your kids and to mine and to our family structure. So, yeah, thank you, my Bobby.
oh,
So,
I think it's more supporting. It's a family unit, not individual
yeah,
career paths. So it's what's best. What's best? What makes more sense for advancement?
yeah. And for the
And
whole,
no, with you going out, and opening a business and all the hard work, and then I just, I don't even think of it as work when I'm helping out here because it's more like I look at it more like helping you, not working for a company. Like whatever makes your day easier.
so if
Yeah.
anyone here is not listening but watching on YouTube, these are Jim's walls. They're beautiful. Thank you, Jim. So, Um, all right, so tell me some of those parts, and I know it was really, really big when we wound up buying the second house. And you put a lot of time into that, but I think it was also really reassuring to your ex to know that the kids were able to stay in district. I know she was, I mean, I give her all the credit in the world because she really talked to the kids about, guys, I might not be here come winter. Move your winter clothes over to your house with Donna and your dad. Like that was a big thing. And I remember them showing her pictures of the house from like zooming them, doing FaceTimes of pictures of the house so that she could see it. And she was amazing. She planned her own fun funeral before she passed. She had a big party before she passed, like what, about
Yeah.
6 weeks?
No, 6 to 8 weeks, yeah, before
Yeah,
she, yeah.
and enjoyed it and
Yeah.
was part of that huge celebration. And she really did bond a lot of our family structure together by the invite list of that party, right?
Yes,
Like that was really
100%.
phenomenal. But it had to be hard for you to negotiate all of these moving parts emotionally, financially. What were some of the challenges for you being a divorced dad who's lost their ex-wife? So you're not truly a widower,
Mhm.
but at the same time, you are the sole parent for these kids. Like there's really no title for you. We should have thought of a creative one before we shared this podcast. But I was there to witness some of the, like, what do you do next? And where do you have rights and where do you not? And who will talk to you when you go to change benefits and you're not the widower. You're not the spouse that lost because you were an ex-spouse. You weren't even on the same health insurance. Tell us some of those bumps that listeners that are in this situation can either navigate them, be ready for them, or get some wisdom from you with them.
Well, and as you know, I don't really think ahead. So
No.
so leading up to it, the when my ex-wife got sick, and it was, like I said, when we knew at the point where it was like she's not getting better and all, I got to be honest, I wasn't even thinking of when she passed. I wasn't thinking ahead, besides getting the house, and that was you. That I'm more of a day-to-day guy. Like I didn't want to worry about that. I'll worry about that when it happens. So absolutely had no plan. It was
No,
just,
I'm interrupting you on that one. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the difference between Jim and I. The word planner is in the title of my job. I'm a certified financial planner. And I met somebody who has no plan. And many of you ever heard me say, live for the next best minute. That is what you do, Jim. And it's what allows you to be as charming as you are and fun and freeing. But also, you react in the moment. So I'll let you keep going. So you don't have a plan, you're living for the day. Go for it.
well, but you allow me not to have a plan because you have a plan. That's what someone has to have a plan. No, but when it's a crisis like this, some people are right off the bat. How am I going to pay for this? How am I going to do that? And I get it. That's what a planner's for. But my situation was just I was just trying to get through the situation, and it was more like I'll cross that bridge when I get to it.
Sure.
But like I said, it probably would have been a nightmare if I didn't have you because you are a planner.
Right.
Um, I would be just, all right, now what? I think the hard part is after she passed, a lot of times, like you said, when you're trying to get the kids benefits, going through Social Security, just the estate, everything. Um, it's weird. You almost get like pushed to the side because you're an ex. I was an ex-husband. So they really, I was always so confused because I know I'm not the first person to to, to have your ex pass. But I felt like that's how everyone was treating it. Like everything was, oh, I don't know how to do that. Oh, wait, you're not married. No, I'm not. But I was just so confused that there was no protocol, no steps. Everyone was confused. I always had to talk to supervisors and phone calls for 4 hours and all this. And it was for simple things that I didn't think was necessary. Um, yeah, it was just, I think that was the biggest surprise out of all of it was I thought it was going to be smoother. These are the kids. They have my last name. Um, I have all their stuff. Their mother has passed, and I'm just trying to continue on. And everyone seemed so confused. It was hard. It was frustrating.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I know it was frustrating for you on many levels. One of like, can you get access, right? And even like the change of address. Like, no, the kids don't live there. They live here. Well, do you live there? No, I never have lived there. Well, why not? It was like you said, there was no system in place
Yeah.
through many of these providers for pension, for
Mhm.
medical coverage, for Social Security. When you think there should be, it should be that
Absolutely.
easy. So
Mhm.
yeah. And two, like one of the things that was really nice with the way her friends and family helped too, was
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
she was organized, right? Like
Yeah.
she had a wonderful team that she helped educate before her passing on
Yeah.
this is what's going to happen and after, and they've worked very well with you.
Well,
But I remember your ex actually had like a big envelope saying, all right, these are all the kids' passports. This is
mhm,
their, and it had your name on it to be
mhm.
given to Jim, right? Like it had their passports, their birth certificates,
Yeah.
social security cards, all pulled together in a little blue envelope. Like done, organized, right? And I always am talking to my current clients, and you've heard me time and time again about like even if they're a young family, like the point of being organized, the point of knowing where access codes are, the point of knowing passwords. That's been a big one for you, hasn't it, too? Like when you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have her phone and you need a 4-digit password to authenticate something, it's
Yes.
not your account. How do
Yes.
you get in there?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I am, like I said, well, you said earlier, I am lucky that her family, because I obviously knew them for years. We have them over the house now. We
Yeah.
get invited to their house for holidays and stuff. I mean, they've, because just want to keep everything consistent. But if I ask questions, if I need something, I get answers. I get my phone calls back. So I'm lucky in that respect. I can't imagine not having cooperation.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's situations where there's none with ex-spouse.
Oh, I'm sure there is, but it's just and it's for the benefit of the kids. So I don't want them to be deprived of that family, and I'd rather just have everyone over to the house or be invited to things and do stuff. But it makes it a lot easier, and I can reach out with help on stuff. And a lot of times they're confused how hard it is too for something simple, just with benefits and all that. It's like, and my ex-wife was very organized.
It was.
So if it was this much of a problem with someone who's that organized, what's it like if you're not?
And for
'Cause-
the listeners too, my late husband was also a federal employee. So watching you navigate the systems that I navigated 11 years ago, but it being a bit more complicated simply because you were an ex-spouse. I was a little bit floored by that because I had gone through the same steps, which made it a little easier for you and I. Same benefit plan, same type of pension,
yeah.
who, what, like that was a little easier. I had just done that 10 years before, right? So we
Mhm.
knew the script for that. But
Yeah.
it just seemed, I'm so sorry, Bubby, a little harder for you than it was for me. I mean, there'd be days that I'd hear you on the phone for hours being put on hold and no one could get the answer. And I thought, oh, thank God you have flexibility of schedule, right? That we could be flexible with your hours here at the office. You could be flexible to be there for all of our kids, right? Because they're all in every direction. Between, colleges and after school activities, like that is you being there. And you'd have to be sitting there transferring from the kitchen table to the car so you didn't lose your spot on hold. Hours of your day. Yeah.
Yeah. But
So what would you give as tips of advice or wisdom for someone else that you've just heard that they lost their spouse, you know that they were divorced, they still have young kids. What if you had to go and sit and have a cup of coffee with them at their dining room table, what would be the wisdom that you would share for them? Three things.
uh, well, one, keep a good open dialogue with your ex's family and friends because you will need them for things. The other thing I would say, learn how to sit on hold and be patient and not get upset, and you will get upset.
In other
Oh,
words, don't put it on mute and pound the dining room table with a
yeah,
few Philadelphia flares, right? Got
there you go. Yes, yes,
it.
they will hang up on you. Yes. No, it's just I guess more of it is just take your time with it. I just found I rarely had, and I hate to say this, someone helpful. And I don't mean personally helpful. I mean in the agencies. I don't mean family, friends helpful. I just mean I feel like I was even down to Social Security. I felt like I was tossed to the side a lot. And I still don't understand why, because it was, I mean, you witnessed it. I was um that to me was it gets you angry, and I tell you the truth, and I'm sure you would hate to hear this, but if it wasn't for the kids, if it was just for me personally, I would have been like, fine, I don't care, don't give me the benefits. I'm not doing this. And I almost feel like, is that what they wanted? Like for me to just forfeit. But since it was the kids' money, it's theirs. That's the only reason I kept fighting for it because yeah, I think patience. You just got to have patience and you got to, and find that, You just got to keep calling, persistent, keep going. But and like I said, I can only speak for myself for being a man, not a woman in these situations. But I feel like everyone was a little less helpful because I was a dad. I mean, it's just my own personal opinion. I've seen other people go through stuff, and not just with exes, but just spouses passing, even you. And I feel like there was more support there, and I feel like it was just kind of like, ah, you'll be fine, For me, like you'll be all right, just figure it out on your own. And that was a little bothersome, and you saw it.
Yeah, and I know too, I mean, because I was so new to my community when we had lost my first husband, Greg, and the community rallied around me. I mean, I had meals coming in, I had people raking my leaves, still don't know who did it, right? Like just really trying to help and support. And it did feel a little different. And I'm wondering if it's because we were already established and you were remarried. So they figured out it's good. He has a family structure. It wasn't just you alone.
Yeah.
Or was it just the fact of because many of times there's the man and they are employed and they're going to be fine, like they're usually the breadwinner, right? What,
Mhm.
and this is where my heart always broke, is we were lucky enough that we still had lots of good savings. We had a stream of income, right? We knew our financial situation and we were confident in it before your ex passed, which is why
Mhm.
we made that decision to have you step away from all of the hard work you put in. But imagine if that was the person that passed and you needed every dime and
Yeah.
there was a 9 month hold on Social Security and your
Mhm.
kids couldn't get benefits for a year.
Mhm.
It would have been so different for your own kids and this journey. And that's where I really wanted to share your story because for some of those widowers that might be ex-husbands, again, I don't know what category to put you guys in, right? But they might not know
Yeah.
everything to do. They might not know if they didn't have full custody, what are the kids' school schedules, right? How do you log into the school portal to look at their grades? Because the ex-spouse might have been the primary one to take care of that. And they might be struggling financially. And I will talk about gender roles, right? Or specific roles, and we know it doesn't apply to everybody. But I think it is really hard for a dad, a widower, an ex, to say, I'm struggling or I need help or I don't have all of this. And so I think you guys really do struggle in silence. And if the community isn't rallying like the way they did when I lost Greg, it's might be very isolating.
Oh, you'll have time to ponder because you'll be raking your own leaf. You can think about it while you're. Yeah, I don't remember any trays of food showing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
All great people, but I don't like trust me, the community, my friends are great. But I think that was the biggest shock. I did not one text message, nothing. Little shocking, but I do think it's because I'm a guy. They just kind of thought he's fine. I think that it's almost like, yeah, there's no ill will. I just think they just think, oh, he's got it, he's all right.
Yeah.
But it's like,
And you
no,
do hold yourself out there as being very resilient, right? You do. Like you're the person everyone in that community calls when there's a problem. So that might have also been a big part of it too.
no, that's what I'm saying. I don't think there was any like toss aside feelings. I just think it's just, but sometimes it's nice to hear
Yeah.
there's
Yeah, have someone check in and be like, how are you? How you
anything.
doing?
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say if any advice would be to people that know someone that's a widower or like in my situation next, yeah, you're allowed to reach out. It's appreciated, you
Yeah.
know?
No,
Yeah.
that's good. That's really great advice because sometimes people don't know what to say and they don't know what to do. And you're saying just simply reach out,
Yeah.
just simply check in. How are the kids? How are you going with anything?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes don't you agree it's not even what can I do for you? Because sometimes
No.
people just say that to fill in the dead air.
No.
It's either just do it, right? Like
No.
just show up, right? Just invite the kids out to a game or something, right? They might you have to think too, your kids, even though we were very, I think, well blended by
Mhm.
that point in time, they weren't used to living with us full time.
No.
Like they weren't. And I think it would be even nice too to have the community be like, okay, like how can we check in on the kids also? Do you know what I mean? To
Mhm.
make sure that they are a-okay. Maybe they might have needed some space from, all of a sudden 6 bedrooms fully filled. Like
Mhm.
that's different. It's very different. So
I said that's where you got to give credit to my ex-wife because I still can't believe how well the kids were
yeah.
with everything. And it's just the way she set it up and handled it. And they weren't. scared. I'm not saying they weren't scared. They just moved on.
Oh yeah. Like 30 minutes
No,
after her passing, they were in the house. Like
yeah,
that was just the new
like
place where they lived. 30
because
minutes.
that's what she told them they had to do.
Yeah, she did.
So when I say moved on, I'm not saying that it's not thought about or anything. I just mean they did, I mean, that's how she was too, where it was just like, this happened. Now let's, we're not dwelling on it. It's
Yeah. They
like,
roll with it. They're very good
yeah,
at rolling.
absolutely. I think they did, you know.
Oh, they absolutely. As
Mhm.
another person in the house watching them.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely, and it's funny. Like well, I shouldn't say funny, but our kids are all sarcastic, all six of them. They're for listeners, they run from 15 to 23 now. But like they'll actually throw like dead spout or dead parent jokes out. Like, oh, I feel so bad for you. Oh, my dad died. Oh, my mom died. And it's like their sarcasm's real, but I appreciate it because they're just putting it out there. Like you're not so special anymore, right? Like it's funny to hear
Well,
them banter.
and if you remember, even right before she passed, the kids were joking with her because it was August. She passed at the end of August, and they joked and said to her, you know, well, if school starts and you pass, are we allowed to take a week off of school? And she said, no, one day.
Yeah.
Get over it. That's
And she
what she
meant it.
said.
Like
She,
she meant it.
she literally told them, "No, you can have one day off now. Get over it and go back. Keep moving. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
This isn't a unique situation. You don't have a bad life. Worse things could happen." And I do. I mean, she made it. You have to admit, she made it easier for us.
She did, without a doubt,
She
100%.
definitely made it easier for us. I mean, I can't imagine it um, being the other way, like having to really, really struggle with it. And the kids have been great, but and like we do even with Greg and my ex-wife who passed. I think the best thing we do is we just talk about them often.
Oh yeah. Tell them about, I'll tell listeners about the wall in the foyer.
Oh, with their
Yeah.
so yeah. When we walk in our house, I hung up. It was what accommodations
Yeah. Yeah. Like awards. Yeah.
awards from Greg from the government and from my ex-wife. And then we have Greg's flag, folded flag hanging up. But I just wanted that in the front. That's when you walk in. That you see all that when you're in our center hall. So um, because there's more people in that house that have something to do with that than not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, we have you go through the house and we joked early on when we first were together, moving in together. People used to call me Greg.
Yeah. I have a similar look in the men I marry for listeners. They're bald and they
Man,
have
it's
very dark eyebrows. And so pictures of my late husband Greg from afar
from
could be
afar.
mistaken for Jim,
Yeah,
which
so let
happened a few times.
it happened a few times where guys would yell to me, Greg, as I'm walking away, and they think I'm ignoring them, but they see something on the wall that says Greg. So, so I always laugh at that because it's very confusing for some people. But we keep stuff from both people. I mean, you don't want your house to be a memorial.
Yeah.
That's just sad. You don't want any of that. But no, but these people lived. They were a part of the people's lives. You
We have
can't hide
pictures
it
of
like
them
it
up.
never. Well, you can't act like it never happened. You know what I mean? That's part of the. So you put that stuff up, and then when the kids are older, I'm not. That's not. I don't own those things hanging up. So if my oldest Jeannie, if she gets a house and she wants that, I want my mom's going to take it. I just want it while you're living here. I want stuff displayed, and I think it's helpful even for their families, the extended families of the ones who's passed, to come in and see the stuff up. That it's not just swept under the rug. It's say it's over. It's not that. It's no. We're proud of them. They
Yeah.
did good things, right?
Yeah, it's
They
part of our
worked.
family history. And when you walk in the front door, you know it. If you're not looking at those two awards combinations, the flag, you know that these children had other parents and they are part of the stories you model beautifully for the kids of storytelling. And we'll kind of end on that beautiful note. Um, just kind of tell the listeners how you've always done that with making sure that the spirit of who they are alive. And I think that's also what blended our kids so well because I feel like they've known the history of one another's parents because of the storytelling. So expand on that a bit.
Well, I guess because everyone's different. I have not. My mother passed young. She was 52. And I don't like going to the cemetery. I feel like, why am I driving somewhere to feel bad? That's out that I know everyone does it different. I just feel bad. I don't feel good. It kind of takes me out of the day. I do feel a little guilty not going, but I'd rather talk about her and tell funny stories. Or if my kids do something that reminds me of her, I'm like, oh, that's what my mom used to do. And then we'll tell us funny stories. And we pass that along with Greg. We were doing that with your kids. I would listen to stories, but I'd always remember funny things like at a restaurant or at whatever. And then we'd be somewhere. I'm like, oh my God, this is what your dad, or and the kids would laugh. And I do that now with my ex-wife. We always bring her, they're talked about every day in our house.
They
When
are.
you every day there's a reference, a joke,
Yeah.
poking fun in a good way,
Yeah,
as if they're still here, like you would a friend messing around with them. But I feel like doing that for me, is better than being sad thinking about it. And I know I've always said to you, I never, whenever the date passes where it's like, oh, this was the anniversary of when they passed, I don't care about that day. I don't think about that day. I personally think it's a horrible day to think about. It's like, if you want to think about them, do it on their birthday, or Christmas or something like that, a holiday they loved. Do it then. I don't want to think about the day they passed. It was a horrible day. It's never going to be good. So I try to just avoid that topic, and I like telling stories, and nothing's funnier than just, sometimes even you crack up. Sometimes you think that I knew Greg.
I do because you know some of the stories better.
I
So
knew the stories.
yeah, so for the listeners out there, so we are very friendly with my late husband's family, the Kendricks. And I think you, Jim Gian, are their favorite Kendrick, I swear, and you're not one. And it was what, 2 Decembers ago, we sat and there was Kendrick trivia at it was a Christmas Day event, and Jim won, listeners. My second husband won on Kendrick trivia because he loves the storytelling. He loves to tell them. He loves to listen to them. And you remember. And that's what makes it so like that attention to detail you have when someone's sharing with you. And you always go back and reference it. And I have learned a lot from that, even in my own practice, from the way you pay attention and you just listen when someone's telling a story. And you know that they're telling you for a reason and you can relate that back later in life with that person. It's amazing. It's really
Well,
great.
and I could even tying it back into what I said about getting along with the late um, spouse's family. And for you, it wasn't an ex-spouse, but
Yeah.
um, for me, like even with Greg's brothers and all that, when we're out, if we go out to hang out, because we actually hang out, um, we used to joke and say we didn't know how to introduce each other. We just say it's my brother-in-law.
Yeah, they do.
I am no more related to him than the person we're introducing him to. I'm not related to anybody, but it's just so much easier because we treat each other that way. If they ever needed something, I'd go and help them, and vice versa. They would do it for me in a heartbeat. And again, it's for the kids, it's for everything. It's like, why not add people to your circle instead of pushing them away? Just,
Beautiful thing.
just easy. Yeah.
All right, so let's sum it up. If you had a magic wand and you could look ahead at the next 5 years, 10 years, paint a picture of where you think this family structure is going to be.
Wow.
I know it's a big one, right, Bob?
You want me to look ahead 10 years to see what 6 kids and us will be doing?
Yeah, well, we gotta think, all right, let's just limit it down. So let's
Because
say our youngest.
I'm the guy that doesn't plan. Remember, now you're
I
telling me
know, and
it's
I'm trying to force you to it for entertainment of this podcast. I'm asking you to go outside the boundaries because
okay.
otherwise it's just
I'm
my
in.
plan and my way. So
I'm,
you're getting a little bit of buy-in here. So let's say the youngest is out of college. He's
yes.
out of college for 5 years. Where do you
Okay.
hope all the kids are? Where do you hope? What do you hope this big house that we have that has the 6 bedrooms to fit everybody? What role do you hope that the house will play? Because it's your blood, sweat, and tears making that beautiful house into a home.
Well, I don't want to give up the house.
No, we're staying.
Even when it's just us, put enough
Yeah.
work into it. I don't want the next guy to have an easy gig moving in there and it's done. No, selfish reasons. I want to keep it.
For listeners, they just built a big like supermarket right behind our house. And Jim and I went for the very first time into it yesterday. And I remember walking out going like, thank God now we can retire in this house because we can walk to a food source. I'm thrilled. Our retirement plan is
Yes.
set. And I
No,
felt good saying it.
well, I think with the house, I like the house. It's luckily it's a large house. We can fit lots of people in it, and I just picture them all coming back. I actually am someone I don't want to hold any of the kids back. I don't want them to think they have to live close to me. I don't want them. I just want them to live their own lives. But I always want them to know they can always come back and not to live.
Just
just
to,
for holidays.
just to visit, Bob. Just
Yeah,
to visit.
visit.
I was gonna say, if my three oldest are listening, they're packing their bags to move back in now. They're like, we heard Jim say it. It's public.
For the grandkids, when we start having grandkids, they can come. I don't care. They can come and stay as long as they want. I can't wait for grandkids. But no, I think everyone we're lucky. I think all six kids are just like anyone in their early 20s and on down. The older ones, they're finding their way, what they want, what they don't want. They're moving along. But no, I think we're lucky enough where I think they'll be well. I think they like being at the house. They like hanging out. So. Like when James comes home from college, he likes hanging out,
Does. Isn't it
likes hanging
nice?
out.
And
Yeah.
I love, because I go to bed early, you guys hang up. I love when I might be asleep for 3 hours and I get woken up by laughter. And it's
Mhm.
three or four of our kids. Two of our big ones already have moved out. When they come back home, because they know that someone's home from college and this one just got off work. And they want to sit around that beautiful big table and they
Mhm.
want to poke fun at one another and have
Mhm.
jokes, talk about their late parents and maybe how one another resembles them, good and bad traits. It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. So I think it's just like for us, I want you to work less hours.
I
That's
will. That's another podcast, boys and girls. All right, my Jim, I adore you. Thank you so much for sharing this. I think this will be a really helpful podcast because you are in a very different situation. I think people need to hear it. I think there's more people out there in your situation that just sit quiet. So hopefully this will help a little bit with slowing the roll and helping them navigate the next steps. Anything else you want to add, my love?
I hope I didn't ramble on too much.
No, we love you. You're fine. Bye, everybody.
Bye.